in job environments before. You
Well,
saw.
that's it.
I do want to
West
clarify.
Cornwall, baby.
I do want to clarify one thing, though, what Vince started to say, because he and I did work together in other environments. And the thing I would say about Vince, I forget what his IQ number is exactly, but he's Mensa level IQ. So he doesn't, fit in with the average citizen of the crowded planet, shall we say. He's got a different perspective on things, which to me is what his charm is and his wit, but it's not standard. He's not your average guy in that respect. And I think that, from my analysis of it, is just that because he's just not like the run-of-the-mill, beer swilling football,
like certain members of the show that we could
right
we could mention.
Right, we could mention. But Vince is like at a higher plane in certain aspects of his life. So when he's put into a room of average guys who just are less communicative or who are just more jock type people and all that, he definitely does not fit in, and he needs to be at a certain level. But regardless of that, you can't just because you're not part of the majority doesn't mean that you would have to think ill of yourself, I guess. So now I'm done being a motivational coach.
But that's exactly it.
Awesome.
That's exactly it, though, is you, even though you're not the same as everybody else in the room, if you feel good about yourself, you don't really care. I mean, it's not that we don't care.
Exactly.
We do care to a certain extent, but it doesn't matter as much to us if somebody else doesn't accept us. If we've accepted ourselves, then we don't really worry about it as much.
Let me ask both of our motivational coaches here tonight. Cynthia Glickman with us on the phone from Las Vegas. Darrell Knoch in studio here locally, here in Phoenix, live and local, Crowded Planet Radio. And Vince does something, he's too self-deprecating. And I think he takes it beyond just fun for a joke. So what are we going to do to help Vince get out of that in 21 days or less?
Well, I brought this card in that I've shown you, and I really believe that this is the very beginning of what he needs to do. Not because he's not a good person. I had an opportunity to talk to Vince when I first came to the radio show, but I think he's a very interesting gentleman. I thought I had a great conversation with him, but he's having not so great conversations with himself. And so
Absolutely.
This is one of the things that I tell people that they need to do is they need to start out by looking in the mirror and saying, I like myself, I love my life, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I add brightness to the life of others.
All right, so we're heading to the bottom of the hour here. Again, you're listening to Crowded Planet Radio here at KFNX News Talk Radio 1100. Bunker Bob, Wolf Boy Jack, very, very cool vegetarian Vince. I keep messing that up because he wants to change his name on me. Danger Wayne as well. Cynthia Glickman on the line with us. Darrell Knoch in studio. I promise now when we come back this time, we're going to ask them how to help some really damaged people, not just a nice guy like Vince. Back, Bunker Bob here, Crowded Planet Radio, KFNX News Talk Radio 1100, talking about motivation tonight, along with our in-studio crowd, Wolf Boy Jack, Danger Wayne, Vegetarian Vince. We have on the line with us from Las Vegas, the Joy Coach, Cynthia Glickman is on the line with us. And in studio, Darrell Knoch, author of Mastering a Healthy Self-Image, the guidebook to real happiness and enormous success. I need to ask both of you guys, guy and lady, motivational speaking, some people called it pop psychology for a while, and, maybe 20 or 30 years at least from the impetus of, originally like the first handful of motivational speakers, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, people like that. And these people have great messages. But America is fatter than it was 30 years ago. America is on drugs more than it was 30 years ago. Americans hate their jobs more than they did 30 years ago. I won't blame their finances on them. That I'll always blame on, banksters and fraudulent, Wall Street and stuff like that for the crash. Not to say, though, that we haven't been overspending and trying to find other ways to make ourselves happy. So what the hell's the story? I mean, if all this great motivational stuff is out there, why is our country just a wreck?
Well, my personal opinion on that is that there is motivational information out there, but how many people are really marketing it and how many people are really hearing it? And I, like you mentioned, Tony Robbins. I've been to Tony Robbins seminars several times now. He has one of his things that he does that you literally take your shoes off and you walk barefoot across 12 foot of hot coals. Something that you do to tell yourself, I can do anything. If I can do that, then I can do anything. But you can drop $50,000 in a heartbeat spending on Tony Robbins. And so the average guy that can't, let's use an example. Let's use the gentleman that works over at Walmart and he's making $10 an hour. He can't drop $50,000 on that. His life has never been in that type of a realm.
Well, he can spend $30 on a CD or something, or a video DVD to get at least that.
Well, you're right, but he has to even know that video is out there.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've done a good enough job of telling people there is prosperity available if you learn how to accept it and you learn how to go after it.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
That is
unfortunately, as Americans, we all have to hit bottom before we decide to get motivation. We can't be at like a medium level and want to get motivated up. We have to be in the gutter, I guess, before we reach out for something. Whether it's some people reach for motivational stuff. What about Cynthia or Darrell and this?
Yeah,
both of you.
Bob.
I just wanted to ask you guys just a specific question, though. Some people in our country in more recent years, there seems to be a growth in reaching out for Christianity, being born again, and that is what is lifting people up. Where do you guys stand personally on the religious aspect as well as what that does for people?
Well,
I love that question too. So
I
really want both of you to give me your feedback on it. So, Darrell, you can go ahead.
I happen to believe that a statement that I used to hear Zig Ziglar say all the time, that if you're looking for a helping hand, look down at the bottom of your sleeve. And I happen to believe that that's one of the things that we really need to do more so. If you're into something that says somebody else has control of my life, some other power has control of how I live, or there's a big statement that says, well, if it happened, then it must have been meant to be. And my statement is, it's only meant to be of what I choose it's meant to be. And if I take control and take responsibility of my life, then that's when I'm going to be able to have more prosperity.
Look at the end of your sleeve. I like that. I'd like to shift a little bit into some real-life scenarios with stories I have in front of me, news articles and that. And it really kind of a handful of these stories cover a variety of demographics. And maybe our two guests can give us some insight toward what these different peoples and so forth would be dealing with. I have an article in front of me talking about how baby boomers are now struggling to retire, and more of them are working, and their mobility between their houses, being down in price, unable to sell their homes, glad to have the jobs they have, and so forth. You have that baby boomer age group now has been thrown, a curveball with the economy in the past few years. So again, I'll take, some thoughts from both of you on what you would put out in front of a baby boomer coming to you with that type of issue in their life. And because let's face it, I mean, who you perceive yourself to be, regardless of our inner stuff, outer becomes part of it. And we thought we were somebody who had a house worth this, and we thought we were retiring at that age, and now we're not. So, Darrell, what would you do sitting there talking to a guy like myself? No, not like myself. No, not me. But, let's just say a baby boomer, someone that, I know. Okay.
Well, as an example, I'll use my story just a little bit. I started a manufacturing company when I was 24 years old. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. And so based on starting a manufacturing company at 24 years of age, I didn't know anything about manufacturing at 24